everyone. In this session, we are going to talk about JSON. So we'll discuss what is JSON, why we use JSON. Then we'll discuss what is JSON serialization and deserialization. Then we'll discuss the classes that are given by Salesforce for JSON manipulation. So let's start. So firstly, what is JSON? So JSON is just an acronym for JavaScript Object Notation. So it is a lightweight format for storing and transporting data over the web or over the internet. So JSON is often used when data is sent from a server to a web page. JSON is self-describing and easy to understand format. An example JSON is given here. So the data type of JSON will always be a string. So whenever we convert an JavaScript object to a string, so it will look like this, and we'll call it a JSON. Then we can send the string over the server as a stream of data. So whenever we convert a object to a string, we call it serialization, and then we can send that specific string to the server to other people. So why we use JSON? So JSON format is syntactically similar to the code for creating a JavaScript object. Because of this, a JavaScript program can easily convert JSON data into JavaScript objects. So as I said, it is the JSON is similar to a JavaScript object. It's just that we're converting it into a string before sending data over the server, over the internet. Since the format is text only, JSON data can easily be sent between computers and used by any programming language. So every programming language will have its own implementation of a object, or in Apex we can say it is a map. So every programming language will provide methods for serialization and deserialization. The similar we have in JavaScript, we have JSON.parse for converting JSON strings into JavaScript objects. Then we have JSON.stringify for converting an object into a JSON string. So let's discuss what is serialization and deserialization of JSON. So JSON is a format that encodes object in a string. Serialization means to convert an object into that string, and deserialization is just the inverse operation, converting string into an object, or in Apex we'll call it a map. When transmitting data or storing them in a file, the data are required to be of the byte strings, but complex strings are seldom in this format. Serialization can convert these complex objects into byte string. For such use, after the byte strings are transmitted, the receiver will have to recover the original object from the byte string. This is known as deserialization. So when we convert on, let's say, a JavaScript object to a string, and we send the data, so we are basically sending byte strings. That is easier to send, and there is less chance for data loss. And instead of sending complex objects, we'll just send a byte string. So that is known as serialization. And once the receiver receives the data, they'll convert it back to the original object from that byte string. So this is known as deserialization. So let's discuss about JSON support in Apex. So JSON support in Apex enables the serialization of Apex objects into JSON format and deserialization of JSON content. Apex provides three classes for JSON serialization and deserialization. So these are system.json class, system.json generator class, and system.JSONParser class. So now we will go through these classes, the important methods one by one. Then we'll see an example of that. So firstly, let's go through the JSON class in Apex. So it is, as I said, used to perform serialization and deserialization of the JSON content. Important methods of this class are serialize, deserialize untyped, and deserialize. Serialize is like we'll provide in an object, Apex object or a map. Then we will this method will convert it into a JSON content. Then what is deserialize untyped? Deserialize untyped is like we'll provide it in a JSON. We'll provide this method a JSON string, and it will convert it back into the Apex date primitive data types. Then we have this third method, that is deserialize. So we will have to provide in an Apex type here. Let's say the Apex type is a wrapper class here, and this deserialize method will convert to the Apex type we provided So instead of converting that into a primitive data type, so this method will specifically convert it into the apex type. The apex type can be a wrapper class, etc. So let's see an example to better understand this. So I'll go to my developer console of my org. So uh, we have this class JSON round trip sample, and this is a wrapper class inside the class. So we have created three attributes here. One is a long, one is a date time, one is a decimal. Then we have this constructor where we are initializing the data. So we have created this static method. So let's see what is happening here. So firstly, we are defining a date time. Then we are defining two invoice statement objects. So of this wrapper class. So we are initializing these two objects. Then we are adding them to a list of invoice statement. Uh, then what we will do is we'll do a JSON.serialize of this invoice. So the output would be something of this. So this square bracket in JSON indicates it is a array, and this curly bracket indicates it's a object. Within that object we have within this array we have two objects, so it is basically an array of objects, and we have two values in this array that is separated by comma. So this is the comma, so that is separated by this comma. Within that we have its attributes, that's our total price, statement date, invoice number, which we have generated it here. So, and if we'll look at this JSON, we'll print it. So it will be of string type string. Data type will be string. So since we are serializing this and we are storing it into this JSON string, and you can also see the data type of this would be string. Then if like we want, we can send this string data to the third party server or any other user. So now we have this deserializing example. So we are using JSON.deserialize. And as I told you, JSON.deserialize will take two parameters. Firstly would be the JSON string, which we have defined here. Then that second would be the Apex class type, Apex type. So since this is expecting some custom Apex type, so we have created this wrapper class here, invoice statement. So we'll provide in the list of invoice statement dot class, like serialize it into this list of invoice statement, and this is the class for that. So we are then just typecasting it into a list of invoice statement, and then we are just iterating over it, right? So this is an example of JSON.serialize and JSON.deserialize. Let's quickly look at an example for JSON.deserialize untyped. So I have already set up some examples here. So firstly, we are using JSON.serialize. So we are converting a date time, and then we are using a system.assert equal. So you can see these after we do a JSON.serialize, this will be the string specific uh, to the converted string. Now let's see this JSON.deserialize untyped example. So we have hard-coded this JSON, and now we want this JSON to be converted to an Apex map or an JavaScript object. So how we will do it? We will just use this JSON.deserialize untyped. So this will convert it into a map of string comma object. So if you remember the hierarchy in Salesforce, the top level of any object, any data type, the top level is the object class. So the object class will convert it into an object. So this description would be of type string, and this value key, this key would be of type string, and this value would be of type object. So we're converting it into a map of string comma object, and then based on that we will do parsing later. You can do the parsing later. So using this initialize map. So now let's go back to JSON generator class. So JSON generator class is we can create a standard JSON encoded content. We can construct JSON content element by element using the standard JSON encoding. So if we don't want to use a wrapper class, as we saw early, so we'll just create our JSON using write start object methods, write end object methods, write start array, write string field, write number field. So I'll show it will better understand it using an example. So I'll show you an example. So I've created this class, so we are making a call out to another Salesforce org using this name credential, and we are using the composite REST API. In the composite REST API, we will have to provide in these a JSON of this type. So we'll have to name it records, and then it will be the value would be of array of objects. So this type of string we want to generate using JSON generator class. So how will we do that? So firstly, I'll show you an example. Firstly, what we will do is we'll use the JSON.create generator method. This will give us a JSON generator object, and then we'll use the JSON.write start object. So this will start an object. Like this curly braces indicate it is an object. So it will start an object. Then we are going to write a field name that is records. As shown in this, we'll have to write the first value as records for first key value. Then within this records, we have an array. We have an array of objects. So we will have to write start array, right? And then within this, we'll have to iterate. So we'll have to write a start object. Then we'll have to iterate the attributes of it, the attributes. Then we have the inside array. So we are just iterating this. So after that, we are using the write end object and to end this attribute object, and then we are using the write end array to end this array or the records array, and in the last we are using the write end object for this bracket, this ending records bracket. So we have created this JSON data using the JSON generator class. This is also an creative way to do that if you are not if you don't want to create a wrapper class. Let's discuss about JSON parser class. So JSON parser, like if you want to parse the JSON content, so we have got the JSON content from the web server. So now we want to parse the content without the use of the wrapper class, using the standard JSON encoded values. So we can use these important methods provided by the JSON parser class. So firstly, we will use the JSON.create parser. So this will create a new it will return a new parser object. We have this next token. The next token locates cursor to the next token. Then we have the get current token, get current name, next value, and the get text. So I'll better show it using an example. So I've defined the example here in this file. So to better understand the JSON parser, let's discuss the JSON token enum. So firstly, I'll show you what is a JSON token enum. So this is our code, Apex code. So we have defined this hard-coded JSON, and then let's say we got this JSON from the web service, and then we are creating a JSON parser using the JSON.create parser, and we have provided in the JSON content. So we are iterating over this parser, and then we are using the next token method. We are just checking if next token is not equal to null, then print current token is equals to parser dot get current token. So let's execute it and see what are the values it is providing. Let me choose debug only. So we can see the current token is either start object, it is either field name, it is either value string. Let me go back to the execute anonymous window. So if the cursor is here in this curly bracket, it will return a start object. If it is here, it will return a field name. And if it is on the value, that is the key value pair, it is on the value, it will return the value string. And then in the last, if it is in the ending curly braces, it will return an end object. So this current token basically is a JSON token. JSON token is a enum that is created by Salesforce. That is a standard value. And enum is like in Salesforce, enum is a data type which will contain only specific values. So the values would be this only, like start object, field name, etc. So let me show you the example for a JSON parser to better understand it. what we are doing is we have created this JSON that is a list of object, and we are in this object we have provided two values, ID and token. So then we are initializing a JSON parser using the create JSON.create parser class. We have also created a map to store the converted JSON after parsing it. Then we are iterating over the parser. We are using if parser.next token is not equal to null, then we are checking if parser.get current token is JSON.field name. That is, field name is this ID. So if it is a field name, then get the text of that field name. So the text would be ID, right? So the field name is ID. Then we are just checking if field name is equal to ID. Then parse ID is would be equal to parser dot get text. If it is token, then parse token would be equal to token. In the end, we are just putting that parse ID and the parse token in the map, this map we have created. So basically, we have parsed the JSON. So this JSON, just think this JSON we have got it from the web service, and we are using the JSON parser class to parse this JSON and convert it into a map string. So yeah, so that's all by about this session. So this is all the three classes that Salesforce has provided us to uh, to for JSON manipulation in Apex. So in the end I just want to share one more thing. So we have this JSON to Apex class which we can JSON to apex.herokuapp.com, which we can use. We just have to provide it our JSON and it will give us an Apex class specific to that. So if you want to use a wrapper class and use the JSON.deserialize method, then you can use this tool, this really helpful tool. You'll just need to provide in your JSON and it will convert it into yeah, an Apex class. So let me show that example also. Let's say I'm returning this JSON. I want a Apex wrapper class specific to that, which I can use for JSON.deserialize purpose. So name of the generated class, create Apex. So we have this and JSON dot we have two methods, and so it has created this Apex class is wrapper class. So we have this list of records, then we have the attributes wrapper class, and we have the records inner class. So within this JSON to Apex we have two inner classes, and then we have this constructor, or we have this parse method which is just parsing it using system.json.deserialize, and this is the JSON to Apex is the type. We will have to convert it into this type. So you can also use this tool for your projects, and this is a really helpful tool. So that's all for today's session, and hope you enjoyed this session, and do like and subscribe the channel for more such videos. Thanks everyone.